Hey everyone, my name is Reverend Brandon Robertson, and I serve as the Senior Communications Manager for Side with Love. And welcome back to 30 Days of Love. Today I'm really excited to be guiding us on a short reflection on this week's theme, Mobilizing Action. And today we're going to look at what mobilizing action in a time where so many of us are afraid and unsure of where to begin looks like. I come to this as somebody who's a United Church of Christ pastor, but also someone who has spent the past decade organizing faith communities for justice. From leading national marriage equality campaigns to working on legislative advocacy campaigns in the state of Colorado, to my current work helping to shape our communication strategy at Side with Love, this work and this week's theme of mobilizing action is at the heart of all I do. Across every context, I've learned that faith organizing is more than about strategy. It's about spiritual formation, moral clarity, and more than that, collective courage. In the UUA, we say that love is a verb. It's not just a feeling or a sentiment, it's a force and an action. And organizing on the ground asks us to look to our value of love and ask, what does our values, our faith, rooted in love, require of us in this moment? In marriage equality campaigns, this grounding is what kept so many of us showing up when the backlash was fierce. In Colorado, when we organized across faith traditions to advance immigrant protections, gun violence prevention, and LGBTQ+ rights, it was this shared moral center, rooted in dignity and liberation, that fueled us. Mobilizing action begins with helping people reconnect to their deeper why. Most of our congregations, as you know, are full of really good intentions. But what people actually need, especially in a time like this, are pathways. The practices that consistently work here are story-based organizing, helping people claim why this issue matters to them personally. Small, achievable first steps, low-lift actions that build confidence and momentum. We also need clear roles. When everyone knows what their job is, more people are willing to say yes. And then we need visible wins. Communities need to see their efforts and why they matter. Again and again, with campaigns I've led or participated in, whether passing local ordinances in Colorado or building national actions today, the shift from we care to we're moving happens when people can picture the next faithful step. And let's be honest, especially in this time where authoritarianism is rising and so many of us are filled with anxiety, organizing can feel bleak. Prophetic imagination, though, is not escapism. It's the disciplined spiritual practice of refusing to confuse the present moment with the final outcome. When the marriage equality movement looked impossible, prophetic imagination kept the vision of what could be alive. In the thick of many of the legislative battles I've been a part of, it helped us resist the despair of cynicism and move forward with hope and with love. Within Side with Love, prophetic imagination reminds us that our campaigns aren't just about resisting harm. They're about building the world that our values point towards. Now, one other part of mobilizing action in this moment is the need to check when urgency becomes our idol. Acting faithfully means responding and not reacting, discerning before we deploy. Asking, does this action deepen our integrity? Does it align with our values? In my work as an organizer, there were moments when rapid reaction would have made a headline, but slowing down actually allowed us to build deeper partnerships and foster community trust. That patience paid off every time. Across all of my organizing work, the essential elements have always remained consistent. Relationships come first. We need to focus on deep, sustained connections, not transactional partnerships. We also need to have a shared strategy. Communities need to know the big picture that we're trying to create and their particular place within it. We also need distributed leadership. Movements thrive when leadership is abundant, not centralized. And I know this as a comms professional, we need a compelling moral narrative. Facts inform people, but stories are what actually mobilize. Side with Love continues to model this, with our clear values, our decentralized action, and our desire for spiritual depth and spiritually rooted narratives in all of our campaigns. Every religious community faces constraints as we move to mobilize action, whether that's budgets or bylaws or bandwidth. But constraints don't have to be cages. They can be containers that focus our energy. What I've seen in UU spaces is that when congregations start with a shared moral mandate, this is what our faith is calling us to do, that is when they can find creative solutions even within institutional constraints. The question becomes not, can we do this? But can we faithfully do this with what we have? Coalitions are also an incredibly important part of organizing and mobilizing action in this moment. And coalitions fall apart when they're only built on issues. They endure when they're built on mutual trust, mutual accountability, transparent communication, and a shared commitment to each other's liberation. Some of the most powerful coalitions I've ever worked with were not the biggest coalitions. They were the ones that were built on authentic relationships across identities, religions, and communities. That's where durable, spiritually alive organizing grows. When we as Unitarian Universalists put love at the center, it doesn't always make our action safer, but it does make it truer. Love at the center means that we act with integrity over bravado, that we prioritize community care, that we tell the truth even when it costs us something, and that we show up embodied, not just online. Every public action that I've ever supported has taught me that love can be a steady moment and a steady force that helps people move through risky moments, moments that feel exposing, with integrity and with courage. One of the clearest examples from my own work came during my national marriage equality movement. There was a moment when faith leaders from across denominations came together, again, not because we all agreed theologically. In fact, most of us didn't. But we recognized the importance of the shared moral call. Congregations mobilize leaders. They opened buildings. They hosted trainings. They helped to shift the public narrative. The campaign changed laws, but it also changed us. People discovered their courage that they didn't know that they had. Churches found their public voice. Organizers became pastoral, and pastors became organizers. That is the transformation that makes collective action possible. And this is what collective action brings forth in our communities. These moments are not just about serving the world around us. It's actually about strengthening our own spiritual and moral resolve. So, for anyone unsure of where to begin, here's the truth. The first faithful step is small, concrete, and it's taken with other people. Show up to a meeting, join a campaign, listen to the stories of others, or tell your own story. Commit to one action that you and your community can do consistently. Movements aren't built from grand gestures. They're built from thousands of steady, courageous, and imperfect acts of love. As UUs, we believe and know deep in our bones that another world is possible, and that we have a role in bringing that world to life. Mobilizing action is how we translate our values into movement. It's how we refuse the despair of this moment. It's how we practice love as a public, collective commitment. And the work continues through us, with us, and because we dare to take the next step together. So friends, thank you for joining us on this journey as we keep working through these 30 days of love. And I pray that wherever you're at, And whatever your community is contemplating, that love continues to be your center, and that we will continue to show up in this moment with the moral courage and the strength that our values give us, because the world needs it right now.